Episode 3. Is it too late to address climate change? Bill Gates starts to explain that gases like carbon dioxide and methane emitted by industries get trapped within the Earth's atmosphere. This causes a rise in temperature and the Earth gets hotter. He further explains that the worst effects are seen near the equator. Unfortunately, a lot of developing countries, unlike the US, are near the equator. That's Asia and Africa, which are worst being impacted. So Rashida asks, are we doomed? Is that it? Bill Gates, who's an optimist, obviously says no. Innovation is there for the rescue. Currently, the ability to store energy is so limited that wind and solar alone can't provide a solution. We need a storage miracle, or we need some source of energy like nuclear fission or fusion that are perennial sources. There's innovative processes being experimented in making industrial cement as well. Heat energy supplied at the start of making cement is coming from a green source. Also, carbon dioxide emitted is captured, cooled, pressurized, and injected back to Earth. At a small scale, a company called Climework is doing this today. R then asks, do you think that we'll ever convince people to be committed to zero emission because it's the right thing to do, or do you think it's going to have a financial thing? Are we really going to get to zero by 2050? Bill Gates says, just looking at the problem in parts like electric vehicles and solar and wind doesn't help. The best measure is to look across all categories: heating buildings, cooling buildings, making steel, making cement, and see how expensive the clean approach is. Which then brings to our summarizing the concept of green premium. The idea that the cost of doing things in a zero carbon, zero emission way actually costs more. The extra cost is called the green premium. If the premium is too high, it's kind of impossible to move forward. We need to innovate technologies and ideas that lower this premium so everybody can afford it and eventually not have to pay that extra cost to be able to do the right thing. R finally then asks, we as individuals, what can we do? Gates says, there's two things that really count. One is your political engagement, because the government will fund the R&D and will have the policies that will drive up the scale of electric vehicles and clean cement. Number two is when there is a product that's lower emission product, you as a buyer, as you drive that product up in scale, the price will come down, and so your willingness to buy an electric car or to buy that meat that was made with no emissions, that's really helpful because we want to get that extra cost down to zero.